Nadine Ford and I'm Head of Maths here at Queen Elizabeth Grammar School in Penrith. I've been teaching 8 years. We've been a hub for Edexcel for 3 years now, and we've been using Edexcel as an exam board for at least 10 years. The main challenge really was trying to get the extra content taught in time. By the time that we were realising how much needed teaching, it was quite late in terms of our planning. So for last year's cohort, that was quite a mission to make sure we taught all of that. The second issue was the increased problem solving. The students weren't used to the level of questions, the difficulty, and how they incorporated lots of topics at once. One of the main things we did is in lessons we focused on trying to get the content taught, and because we didn't have that much time to do problem solving in lessons, we started a problem solving club at lunchtime. We're very fortunate at our school because we have a lot of very diligent students, and quite a large number attended this club, and in that we let them sort of attempt exam style questions and practice that, and that built their confidence. We didn't do so much differently for last year's cohort, but we're definitely doing things differently now. We're doing a lot more problem solving in those early years, in years 7 and 8, a lot more problem solving in the lessons. We've also taken a step to move to a more mastery type curriculum. We're very much focusing on trying to teach for deep understanding, so that the students can tackle those problems because they really understand the topic, rather than teaching them methods to try and repeat processes. We also started teaching a little bit earlier now. We now start the GCSE in year 9, just to give us that extra time to teach the content. Teaching for deeper understanding in Key Stage 3 I think will have a really huge impact on our results going forward. I think it'll enable the students to really tackle those unusual, slightly differently phrased or asked questions much more than they can now. In year 10, whilst we spent a lot of the lesson teaching content, we did dedicate some of our lesson time to problem solving, and we tried to come up with problems that mixed topics, so weren't just topic specific, to allow students to get used to that idea of combining ideas together. In year 11, we had some content left to teach, but we also spent a lot of time doing practice papers. Edexcel produced a lot of those, which was really helpful and enabled the students to get a lot of extra practice. To tackle the increased problem solving and get students to practice that aspect, we introduced a club at lunchtimes. We had a big supply of practice questions that had a lot of AO3 content and kind of mixed topics together, and we asked students to come along, and they worked in pairs or on their own, picked a question, had a go at it, discussed it if they needed help, and then got another question. So they were working through quite a lot of questions over a lunchtime and getting that extra practice outside of lesson time, so it allowed us a lot more time in lessons to focus on the content. We used both the mocks that were produced by Edexcel. We used the first one in December. We hadn't quite finished the content of the course at that point, so although we gave them the full paper, they weren't able to access all the questions, and because of the increased difficulty, the students found that first mock quite a challenge, so we felt it was important to give them another chance just before the exam, so more in March time, to do the second mock. This helped us to see how much they'd improved and gave us some more confidence, but it also gave them extra confidence to see that all that practice they'd been doing in lessons and outside had really improved their grades as well. Due to our cohort, we generally don't enter people for the foundation tier, and we haven't entered that many people over the last few years to foundation. So I had to think a little bit about whether that decision was the correct one last year, but having talked to other people at the hub meetings and discussed the decisions that they were taking, I felt fairly confident that our decision of doing the same thing was the right one. So we did enter all our students for higher tier. Pearson's support has been excellent throughout all of this curriculum change. They've provided so many resources for staff and students to use. It's made it so much of a smoother transition for everyone. We had 6 practice papers for the students to use. The 2 mocks enabled us to have a really good indication of where our students were at. I really liked the idea of entering the mock results on Results Plus after the first mock, and it was great to be able to see how our students compared to other students nationally, and to get it gave me a much greater feel for where the grade boundaries might be as well. So that information was invaluable to all students and staff really last year. We were really pleased with our final results. Everybody got a 4 or above, with most students getting a 5 or above, and 2/3 of our students got a 7 and above. We had a lot of grade 9s and 8s, which was really pleasing to see. I think about 1/3 of our students were grade 8 and 9, so really, really pleased with the results. The students did brilliantly. In terms of thinking about how we go forward after that first set of exams, we've definitely started to teach slightly differently. We're no longer thinking it's okay to teach procedures and try and get students through with sort of rote learning of methods, and we're teaching very much for understanding now. The questions don't test whether you can do a process anymore, they're testing do you understand the process and can you think about the process in different situations, and that's what we're trying to develop in our students. So with that in mind, we're teaching less in Year 7 and we're covering it in a much deeper way and trying to get students problem solving early on and really thinking about the topics in much more depth. We'll be staying with Pearson Edexcel just because of the support we get from them, the amount of resources that have been produced. The Emporium has such a lot of great things that you can use with students that it's been invaluable to staff and students in terms of that support. It's great being a member of the Hub because we get to kind of hear about things and hear firsthand what's going on, and also an opportunity to discuss with other schools what people experience. So that's been a fantastic support to me as Head of Maths to be able to support the students as well.